unless you do hands-on projects, no one would recognize what you have done, because have a strong GitHub profile where you can at least showcase what your project is, not just
True.
upload the code and leave it. You have to give a description what the program is actually doing, because these recruiters will not know you personally. They go, they'll search, make a quick search, they'll analyze you in like 3 minutes, and then they'll move on to the next guy.
You said that you use deep learning, right? And from the knowledge that I have about deep learning, it requires a lot of data points. And
Yes.
you contradicted yourself by saying that we used lesser data points to arrive to our conclusion. So how did that exactly work? That is a conundrum that I have. So if you could
Yeah.
explain that. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Skill Sapiens podcast. Skill Sapiens is a community that helps college students upskill themselves so that they can make the smooth transition from campus to corporate. We also help entrepreneurs by helping them turn their dreams into reality. We provide them with the necessary resources. Today, we have with us a very special guest. We have Spandan out here, who has converted his final placement offer in UPS. So, Spandan, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Ravindra. Hi. Thanks for inviting me.
So, Spandan, if you could tell us something about yourself to our viewers, so that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Hi to whoever is watching. So I am Spandan Ghosh. I passed out right now. I'm in my 8th semester, not technically passed out. I pursued my BTech in computer science and engineering from VIT Chennai campus, and currently I'm working as an intern at UBS in Pune. Apart from that, I did a few internships. One of them was at Nagasaki University, which was online, and also a project which I worked under Samsung Prism program. Sorry. Yeah, these are the two other experiences I had. And yeah, I'm here discussing about this and more questions as we go along, Ravindra, right?
Yes. So, first, I would like to know your approach to the placement process. How did you approach that? And did you have a roadmap in mind, or like, how was it? If you could tell us
Yeah.
about that.
Sure, sure. So, like everyone, we all have a roadmap, right? Because unless you have a roadmap, you can't actually reach anything. So that's what
True, true.
I believe in personally. So this placement season starts way back in July last year, and we were made really aware about the placement and how difficult it's gonna be during the like post-pandemic everything, and job cuts happening everywhere. You might hear the news all the time still now.
True, true, true.
And during that period, we were sternly lectured in our placements that it's gonna be hard. You have to pull your weight, and you need to really prepared a plan for it. So cutting short all of that, I did of course have a plan in my mind, and the plan was very simple. So break it down into the companies that are coming to your campus. So I
Right.
was targeting companies on campus as well as trying through off campus like LinkedIn, other platforms, referrals. So I was trying both the modes because you can't be sure which like where you will get a job. So at that moment, a person like I, for instance, tried everywhere possible. So there was a plan. The first plan was to break it down into which companies are applying to, prepare accordingly, like whatever the particular role is. Say, for an example, I'll pick my role. I'm an SDE software developer engineer intern. So our preparation strategies include covering most of our computer science basics like operating systems, DBMS, which is database management system, then DSA, algorithms, and everything. So it covers a lot of topics, even networking and communication. One of our core engineering subjects comes in there. So what I used to do was that I used to make notes from my first, second year, and I used to like luckily I preserve them, and that really came handy because you have those comprehensive notes. You can break it down into smaller bullet points to revise. So I really use of my time because initially there were and there was a phase where I wasn't getting shortlisted for on-campus placements as well because the cutoffs for CGPA, which mine wasn't great, so I wasn't getting shortlisted in the beginning. So I didn't make a fuss out of it and like I mean rant about it or waste my time. I utilized it to actually revise and perfect whatever you could. And yeah, the third point, it would always be hands-on practice. So as long as you're getting the interview calls, you have to cross a few stages. You have to cross a stage where you have to do a programming test, right? So the programming test is one of the toughest when it comes to selection procedures because that is the place where maximum elimination occurs. So you have to
Right.
be faster than the others. You have to get the most amount of like you have to get those highest like those points to get above the other people and I mean get shortlisted. And since cutoffs were I mean the cutoffs were not set like, were not explicit and you weren't sure about how your chances were. So you had to be actually thorough with your programming concepts to really crack those I mean first round of interviews and then we get into the real thing as we say. So yeah, that was
Got
my
it.
preliminary preparation strategy for interviews, as you could say.
I see. I see. That's great. You know what you've pointed out that, first having a roadmap is something very essential before you jump into the journey. And
Yeah,
as you said, that there was the CGPA setback that you had faced, and but you still overcame that. So, like, how did you face the setbacks during your job applications? You must have applied to hundreds of companies. So, how was that experience?
yeah. I mean, applying and not getting a reply is one of the most common things we all face while I mean applying to jobs in the industry. So that really, I mean, at one point of time, you might feel you can see those other people on LinkedIn, on all other platforms, showcasing their skills, working at all those
True,
big
true, true.
fang companies, and you would feel, what am I doing wrong? I have the same profile. Probably that guy has cracking those interviews very well, or maybe he or she doesn't I mean does have a really strong profile which makes them more eligible than anyone else. So I mean those setbacks will come to you, but the only way you can like just harden there's just only one way. You have to work on good projects. You have to build something nice because whatever you are be if you're a computer science student, you have to do good projects in your domain. So whatever is your strength, you need to you need to showcase that strength. And how do you do it? We all know we have to use our platforms like LinkedIn, Well Found. All of these platforms are there where you can actually showcase what you have done. And unless you do hands-on projects, no one would recognize what you have done because have a strong GitHub profile where you can at least showcase what your project is, not just
True.
upload the code and leave it. You have to give a description what the program is actually doing because these recruiters will not know you personally. They go, they'll search, make a quick search, they'll analyze you in like 2, 3 minutes, and then they'll move on to the next guy.
To make sure
So
that
it's
those
about
styles are green,
create.
right?
Yeah, you have to make sure that those tiles are green, and they have to be aware that this guy is actually committing something or not at all. So that makes a difference because I've seen people, I know people who were very meticulous about this from the beginning of their college life, and actually they reap the benefits of this, which people later realized they should have done much earlier. These guys were already doing for a long time. So that actually helps. If you the point is, if you start early, you should actually be thorough about what gets you the attention. Getting attention is not the wrong thing. I mean, we think that if you're seeking attention, I mean that doesn't apply to the tech market. You have to be out there, show what you're doing, because showing is the only way you can get recognized. So yeah,
True.
that's
True.
how I used to feel. Like there was times I used to feel a little depressed, but I mean you have to showcase something to actually get those interview calls.
True. I couldn't agree more to that. So yeah. And you said about projects, right? Where projects play a crucial part in the selection
Yeah.
process. So could you describe some projects that you worked on, and how did that sort of help you push the needle towards you? Like push the uh, like I mean, it increased your chances, of landing the role. So if you could describe a situation or a pivotal moment like that. So,
Yeah, there will I mean there will be probably two or three like that, but I'll explain one of the most important projects I did, like, which actually helped me land UBS. So it was this Nagasaki University internship that I did. So it was an opportunity I got through our college international relations office. So they sent out a mail, they shortlisted a few people who were interested with their problem statements and all. And I worked as a group of three people. And in that, we used a novel machine learning technique. Say, like machine learning and AI is one of the few buzzwords in this industry
Yeah,
right
we
now. And
overuse a
when I
lot.
say, I mean, people do use it a lot and it sells a lot. And in that time, we were actually working on a deep learning project, if our viewers would know what's deep learning. And we were actually trying to train particular models for emotion detection because, as you know, these hospitals and doctors, they medicate you, right? They give you medicines, they treat you, they perform surgery on you, but very few people really analyze what the patient is going through, right? And we have seen studies that reflect that if a person's temperament or their particular mood or behavior isn't appropriate and they are being treated under high doses of medication, surgeries, they won't respond well. So you need to understand those small intricacies about how to treat a person. So we devised a machine learning model that uses less amount of data, which is why we call it few shot learning. So there is a certain thing called few shot learning, which is actually using a less amount of data and then finding results based on that. So that really optimizes because you might not have structured data all the time to do your studies on, but you have limited data and you train it. And that model which we used was particularly impressive to us and our the panel which we presented a review in front of the final stage. It was because we could segment 7 different emotions properly with an accuracy of 92%,
That's
and
great.
which was one of the yeah, which was one of the most uh, well valued projects at our final project reviews which we had. And this particular discussion about this project continued in my interviews for around half an hour, because luckily the interviewer was also one who was inclined towards AI and machine learning. So he was really invested. I mean, like, we come back to the interview preparation point. Like, when you get an interviewer who aligns with your thought process, you can really take it in your own direction and make them ask questions in your strong areas. So that really, I mean, helped me get this job at UBS, because the interviewer was really impressed by the project and how I could explain my role and the role of the others who were involved and how well it was received by the panel. So yeah, that was a highlight for me, I guess.
I see. I see. I might get a bit technical for the viewers out here, but you said that you use deep learning, right? And from the knowledge that I have about deep learning, it requires a lot of data points. And
Yes.
you contradicted yourself by saying that we used lesser data points to arrive to our conclusion. So how did that exactly work? That is a conundrum that I have. So if you could
Yeah.
explain that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I hoped you would ask the question because I wanted to go into deep of this. So yeah, so basically, a few shot learning model is trained on less amount of data, and when you have an unknown sample, what it does is that it extracts information from that unknown sample as well. So what we are essentially doing, we are masking the effect of the small data set by using an unknown sample as something that we are currently trying to run our model on. So what it's essentially doing, it's serving the purpose of training as well as testing.
Wow.
So you did not have to have a large data set to do it, but we figured that like these scientists and whoever was, well, not scientists generally, but the people who were actually working with few shot learning, one shot learning, there's plenty like that. So they were actually using this, like they were using this specific model that has three segments, and it was actually used to predict based on small amount of data, and it gave really good results. So we thought, why not leverage this for our use case, because they wanted something in few shot learning and we could provide a very useful use case where we could apply it to.
That's great. That's great. So even though I'm not, and I don't consider myself a subject matter expert on that, but I've had a little bit of exposure to machine learning. So hence I was able to sort of ask that question. So
That was a
that's
good
that.
question. I have to appreciate that. I mean, interviewers normally don't ask so many questions. So, I mean, it's a good question, actually. I really enjoyed answering that.
So yeah, and so could you walk us through your final interview? Right, you said that 30 minutes was directed towards your project. Like, how did it start? How did it end? And like the whole, say, 1 hour that was there.
Sure. So specific to my UBS interview, by that time I had actually had 4, 5 interviews. I'd not made it to any other company, and then like the college interviews are like college processes are like this. We have to like we can apply till we are placed, and then it's over.
Hmm.
So I got this UBS opportunity like October 17th or around that time. We had that coding test, the basic ABCDs again, coding tests.
Got it.
Do it,
I'd just
then
like to
qualify for
interrupt
the
you there. This was through college or this was through you applied on your own?
UBS was through my university.
Oh, okay, got it, got it. Yeah, please go on. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So in the interview, where like a day before the interview, I got a mail around 10:30 that the interview is from 10:30 the next morning. So I prepared accordingly, did my last few checks and all, and I was ready. So the interviewer was actually a guy who is working at UBS and who is currently in the same office that I am going to, and I met him. So that's a different topic. But yeah, the interview was started off on a very casual note. So he started asking me, "How am I, and have I done in college, and how is the day? How is the weather in Chennai?" So I was taken aback, but I wasn't surprised that much because I knew they had their own ways. So it started off by asking basic operating systems and oriented programming questions, like not direct questions like what's an object, what's a class. Like no one would ask you that. They'd ask you scenarios, how to use things like inheritance and polymorphism in a particular scenario. I had a building construction question, and
Oh,
how would you do it? So they really have their own ways of finding out questions. I mean, I really appreciate. Right now, I'm in a position to appreciate the questions, though. So yeah, that point I did not have that luxury. So yeah, I mean, the questions are very good. Actually, I actually thought that. I mean, they really tested every pillar of OOPS, the 5 that we have, the 4, 5 we have. So basically, what happened was that then he moved on. He was satisfied with my answers, and I got it from his way of responding to me. And then we moved on to a few Java specific questions because I had mentioned Java as my preferred programming language in my resume, and he shifted to Java and he asked me about differences between Java, Python, a few other like C++, like why I'm coding in Java, not C++, to test if I have any weaknesses. So you have to be frank because you can't say I know Java, I know C++, I know everything. I mean, people do exist who know all of that, but I don't. I appreciate that. I mean, I'm okay with Java. I'm happy with that. It serves me well. And yeah, he did ask me like it went on like first half an hour was about these particular programming related questions. There were a few scenario based oops, then there was a few DBMS database management system questions coupled with that, along with it, so that you could like they were trying to test your thinking across topics of computer science. So it was pretty much focused on what we have learned as engineering students from college. So I wouldn't say it was very difficult. It was quite engaging. The interviewer was really invested in the interview. I did not feel that he was losing attention at any point. And in the end, towards the end, we were having a feedback on the interview, which I did not ask for because you can't ask for a feedback in an interview. Like this mistake, I tell no one to ask a feedback. You can't ask a feedback to an interviewer. If they give, it's okay, but don't ask them. This session for those who are listening for the first time, if they don't know. But
that's a
yeah,
helpful
so
tip.
he
Yeah.
did. Yeah, I mean, never ask them. Doesn't give a good impression. So they like he did tell me about a few things I said correct, maybe a few things I did not say exactly correct, but at least like they appreciate the effort you put behind answering the questions. Need not be 100% correct because no one is a genius out there. And yeah, we discussed that, and I asked him about the company, the work life, kind of projects they work on. So it's a banking company, right? UBS is a bank, and what basically we are working in is UBS Business Solutions. So basically, we work at the back end and we provide solutions for the business to run on, for the life to make the life of the bankers easier. So he explained that to me in brief. And yeah, that was how the interview was. I mean, if you focus on your engineering core subjects, really get to know what you're like, you will definitely be able to answer most of the questions, I feel.
Right. So, and
Yeah.
if I may ask you, how many interviews had you given before gave the UBS interview? Just for our viewers' knowledge. If
Yeah, I had given 6 interviews before that. There was
okay.
IBM, there were a few startups, then there was one off campus, a startup there again. And I also did, I had Deloitte as an interviewed company. So yeah, I gave interviews everywhere. I had like 4, 5 opportunities, 6 to be exact, not 4, 5, 6,
Hmm.
uh, till UBS came. So it was July to October. So there were many companies I was not going to the interview stage. I was eliminated before the interviews only. That happens always. You don't need to panic. I mean, companies are still coming to our college. I mean, in fact, the placement cell is still working very hard to get everyone placed.
Right, I
And
can
yeah, I
understand
had
that.
5, 6 opportunities, and then I cracked one. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. So that was quite insightful, I mean, where you shared that, the feedback thing that you shared, that's something which didn't strike me
Yeah.
or would have not struck our viewers in the first place. And also, I mean, of course, this was more a software engineering based interview since you are applying for that. So, but there can be certain generalizations which can be drawn out of it, right? Where one
Yeah.
has to think on their feet, as you said, because there can be a couple
Yeah.
of brain teasers that are asked to you, like the example which you
Yeah.
mentioned about the building, the construction building. So that is something one
Yeah.
has to be prepared and also to be honest in what their skill sets are. Like in your case, you said that you are more comfortable with Java than C++, right? Similarly,
Hmm.
people can sort of mention the skill sets that they are comfortable in and be very frank about it. Because let's be
Yeah.
honest, we are going
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
if we get selected, we are going to work with those people for the next n number of years, right?
Hmm.
So it's something that works for the best of both the parties. So
Yeah.
that's quite interesting to know. And also, like, how did you shape your resume or the cover letter? Like, did you use the did you customize it to the ATS algorithm, or like how was it that you designed?
Yeah, so the resume is very important, as you rightly pointed out. I had to mention this. So there's I mean, ATS resume checker. There are many, right? So I use that because I always trust whatever tool is there because they give you the best idea. Because why right, why your resume can get rejected, why not? So you need to align in a particular way which the tool is telling you. Be it any tool, they have a similar algorithm in which they work. They want to see your top portion would be your desk, like who you are, your academics, then your work, then your projects. So and to make one thing make sure that you're not writing jargons over there, like collaborated, then put my knowledge in. No one wants to hear all of those stories. We all know that, right? So they want facts, they want figures. You have to put those percentages, 91% accuracy, or say this much was the loss percent, was the what particular function you used or what particular model you trained. Mention those those keywords that actually help you, because those words will be cited at first, right? Because when a person opens your resume, he won't be reading what you collaborated on. He would be reading what results you got, because that's the hard and fast, that's the hard reality. I mean, they will see your facts, right? So
True.
facts had to be there. I mean, a good 10th and a 12th score really helps everyone. We all know that. I did have a good 10th and a 12th score, and my college grades were pretty okay. I mean, I would say it was decent enough. And yeah, that was what I thought, because the ATS scanner, I must suggest everyone to use ATS tools and get their resumes aligned, because those tools might disappoint you in the beginning, because you might feel nothing is right, getting a 20% score, but taking it to 80, at least putting those hard yards, are like optimizing and like using leveraging AI, chat GPT, other tools, really helps you, because you don't need to copy paste or do anything. Just take those cues, because AI tools, I mean, really make our lives easier. So make use of AI, make it optimized. That's how I would suggest, I would put it into.
Right, right. So, I mean, it's quite an insightful session that we had. I mean, we shared a lot from a journey of cracking that final placement interview. And even as I said, this was from a technical background side, but all of our viewers can sort of take some knowledge out of it and approach their interview process in a similar structured way, so that they can sort of improve their chances of
Yeah.
cracking the interview. And just offhand, I would like to ask, like, uh, I mean, it's a bit slightly sort of veering away from the topic, but it's
No
regarding
issues.
yeah, programming languages. So, like, I mean, Python is something that's being used a lot these days. So, like, how do you find that language, and like, did you use that during the machine learning project that you had built? So,
Yeah, yeah, obviously. Obviously. Python was the first language I learned in college. Like I had learned Java in school, but Python was the first language we got classes in college first year. So Python did come into use almost a lot of places every semester, every few. I mean, it was always there in the mix. And I did use the projects I did in machine learning, I did use Python and R. So R was my second choice. Python was the first go-to language, because Python has extensive libraries. You can leverage those libraries and make your uh, coding much more easier, because there's plenty of everything available in Python. I mean, you don't need to do everything yourself. There are particular libraries written that you can really use Python in. And I mean, the company where I work in, there's a varied tech stack, and that's for all other companies, because no one sticks to one tech stack and goes with it forever. There are applications that require particular programming languages, and for that, Python is really Python, Java, all of these are very important languages. And Python being one of the most fundamental languages, because it's taught in schools, it's taught in the beginning of college, so it means something, right? It means that it's
yeah,
very important. And I personally feel for machine learning, I mean, a person who's exploring machine learning will come across Python anyways. So and
true.
almost all YouTube tutorials we all go through is more or less in Python. So that really has a strong knowledge base where you can actually refer for your Python knowledge.
Right, right. So, on that note, I would like to end the podcast. So, for our viewers out
Yeah.
here, we want you to subscribe our channel. We want you to like and share it with as many people as possible, and so that we can bring more content for you. So that's about it. And so once again, Spandan, it was great to have you here, and
Thank you so much, Ravindra.
and I hope you have a great day ahead.
Yeah,
So,
it's been an honor to be here.
all right, thank you.